All right, shalom, shalom. I'm going to start out this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone that rule while they teach while I learn the truth 100% according to the Bible. I also want to say shalom to the elect, the 144,000 men, the prophets, the servants scattered abroad the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the Akwaf, which are the sisters that are sincere in your children, shalom. And then today's video is going to be titled, The Pride Will Cease. Right, so here it is. I got this video from the brother, the hopeful like 3, building off of what I seen him post, where you basically got this Edomite chick basically, complaining and talking all proud about how, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, because we know ultimately that's who she's referring to, that if you don't like America, you can leave the country and etc., things of that nature, so that just goes to show you the pride of these devils, man. But it tells us in Proverbs 16 and 18 that pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. And that's what these Edomites don't know is coming towards them, man. It's their downfall. And ultimately them being in captivity, being in chains, and being ruled over by the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians. The same people who they despise, the same people who they think they're better than. This is what's coming for these people, man. And they don't even know it, but it's coming soon, right? So I'm going to get into this video. Here it is that you got with this woman speaking. And I'm going to get a few more precepts and then, Lord's will, and I pray it be edifying, So with that being said, I'm going to get into this video. But before I start it, I want to say fair use under the 1976 Copyright Act. I'm not getting paid for this video. This is only for educational purposes only.
To everyone that's out there singing, I'm ashamed to be an American. Let me ask you this. Then why in the hell are you still standing on this free soil? Seriously, if you hate it, here's that damn...
And you can see that what she's basically saying is, and it's funny because her forefathers, right, came over here and stole this land, man. So they're not even originally from here. They're from, Mount Seir originally, these Edomites, man. But like I said, that's the pride of these people. They believe, that they run the whole earth, that everything is ultimately in their power. They have the control to tell people what to do and etc. All of that pride is coming to an end, for you Edomite men and women. This is Proverbs 16 and 5. It said, everyone that is proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Talking about you devils, man. Though hand join in hand, he or she shall not be unpunished, man. So the Lord is ultimately going to bring forth a lot of judgment upon these proud people in these latter days that we're coming into, and I'm going to go to another precept that I like to bring out. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 8, verse 50, but I'm going to read it in the GNTA, right, which is the Good News translation in the Apocrypha. It said, the people of this world, right, who have lived their lives in pride and arrogancy will suffer many things in the last days. And that's ultimately what Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is bringing upon you proud people here in America, man. Whole bunch of suffering and chaos and calamities and different types of other things are going to come you people's way, man, right? So I'm going to get back into this video just so we can hear what it is that she's saying, But this is why the Lord is going to bring judgment upon this place, America, because the pride in this place of you people, man, it's going to come to an end soon. The Lord says there be 6 things that he hate, and I'm going to go to that precept before I even get into the video, just touching on that. I'm going to get that real quick. So bear with me. Right. This is Proverbs chapter 6. All right. And I'm going to start at verse 16 in the KJV. It said, these 6 things doth the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. 17, a proud look, right? And these people here in America are very proud, man, especially you women, man. And that's why we see all of the things that are ultimately happening in this place, America, with the food stamps being taken away. And, all of these job cuts is mainly affecting you women the most, man, because the Lord is bringing forth a lot of judgment in these latter days, man, and that's due to the pride of you people, right? And it says, and hands that shed innocent blood, right? Verse 18, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift and run into mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. But the point was basically what I was trying to make in verse 17 about a proud look. That's the main thing that the Lord despises, man. It tells you that in Galatians chapter 6, Verse 3, it says, if a man, or a woman think of himself to be something when he or she is nothing, they deceive of themselves, man, roughly paraphrasing it. So a lot of these people, they believe themselves to be something because of the status that they get here in this place, America. They ultimately think that they can't be touched. They think that ultimately everything is going to continue to keep working in their favor. They're thinking that they're going to continue to keep having power in the earth. All of that is coming to an end, Esau, for you and your women, right? And I'm going to go to that precept, might as well, bring it out through the spirit. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 7. Touching in on, what's soon to come, man, which is this eon, this age that's being governed by the wicked, by these proud devils, man. That stuff is coming to an end, man, very soon, right? And we're seeing the signs that is leading up to that downfall, man. That's why I don't see why you Edomites are continuing to be proud, man, when, hey, it's over for you people, man, So it says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. Verse 9, for Esau, meaning you so-called white people, you people that are in power today that are proud as hell. It's the end of the world, right? Meaning the ending of this age or this rulership that you have now that's soon about to collapse and fall. And Jacob, meaning the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, the same people that you people feel like you're better than, is the beginning of it that followeth, man, meaning the kingdom of heaven that's going to be reigned in righteousness, and not wickedness like this society that we're currently up under. This is what's coming, man, for you proud devils, man. So, you people could continue to keep being proud and, being arrogant and things of that nature. But, hey, it tells you that in the book of Job. Let me get to that. That's the spirit. Call Allah Yumla Bashim Yahushua. Right? Bear with me. I'm going to go to that. All right. This is Job chapter 20. And I'm going to start at verse 5. It said that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Right? Verse 6, though his excellency mount up to the heavens and his head reach unto the clouds, right? Yet he shall perish forever, like his own dung, which have seen him shall say, where is he? Right? And that's ultimately verse 8. He shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. Right? And that's talking about Esau, Edom, man. After you people go into captivity for 1,000 years serving up under the Israelites, after 1,000 years, you people are going to be eradicated. It's going to be no more of you, as it tells you in the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 18, right? And I'm going to go to a few precepts just, touching in on that slavery, man, because that's what's coming for these devils. Chains, so this is Revelations chapter 13, verse 10 in the KJV. And it says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, right? Talking about you so-called white people, man. You people have oppressed the Lord's people for a long period of time, man. And that recompense is coming for you devils, right? It said, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints, right? So that's ultimately what's going to come for you, Esau, through all of your pride, through all of your arrogancy, all of your boasting and thinking that you control the world and everything is beneath you and under your foot, man. That's coming to an end, man. The real guys are getting ready to get back into power. Starting off with our Lord Yahushua, who's going to rule over you devils right along with King David, the 12 and the 144,000 elect, which are going to be the new governing body of the kingdom of heaven, man, of this righteous kingdom that's going to be established. That's going to be for eternity, as it tells you in the book of, Daniel chapter 7, a kingdom that's going to be forevermore, evermore, 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 roughly paraphrasing, it's going to be continuing. It's not going to ever come to an end like this place that you got that's fallen now, so I'm going to go to Psalms chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse 7, right? It said, I will declare the decree, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua have said unto me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Verse 8, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen, right? Meaning you heathen nations, you Edomites, you Ishmaelites, you Moabites, you Ammonites, you Hamites, all of you different nations, man, that have conspired against the Lord's people, as it tells you about how they have, did unto us, according to the book of Psalms, chapter 83, that they're confederate against us. All of you different nations, man, the Lord is going to give you over unto the Israelites for an inheritance, man. We're going to rule over you people, right? And that's what's coming, And it says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession, right? Because we're going to be in power. We're going to control everything. Lord's will, we be of the elect, right? Verse 9, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel, right? And that goes into us ultimately, establishing righteousness in the earth. We're going to rule over you nations with a rod of iron, man, by the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. And if you people, get out of line and things of that nature, is going to be a penalty to pay. Basically, we're going to rule over you, man. We're going to be your gods. That's what's coming for you proud devils, man. So, you can continue to keep living it up, being proud and arrogant and ultimately thinking that, we're beneath you and things of that nature. Like I said, you people's day are coming, man, very soon. As it says in Habakkuk 2 and 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it. It will surely come and will not tarry. That vision is ultimately us ruling over you, man, having you in captivity. You picking cotton and doing everything that it is that we're going to have you doing in the kingdom, getting fruit, all of those different types of things, man. And Lord's will, we be able to elect, man. We make it on the first go around. We get to see you devils build up our kingdom, man. That's what's coming. Right. So this is Psalms chapter 149. And I'm going to go down to verse 6. It said, let the high praises of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. Right. Verse 7, to execute vengeance upon the heathen. Right. And punishments upon the people. Verse 8, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. That's going into all you elites, you Rothschilds, you Gettys, you DuPonts, you Rockefellers, all of you different heathens that are in power now that believe that, your end is not coming. It's soon around the corner, man. And you people know it. That's why you're building your bunkers. That's why you're getting prepared to go hide and all of that, but your time is coming to an end, This is verse 9, to execute upon them the judgment written. Dishonor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord. Right. And that's what's coming, man. Like I said, this is what ultimately going to be the end for you so-called Edomites, you proud so-called white people in America, But we know ultimately all of you in America are going to be destroyed. So this is actually going to be for your forefathers and your cousins over there in Europe and all of these other places. They're going to be the first fruits of slavery, man, right along with you elites that do survive the nuclear destruction and the things that it is Yahweh Shem Yahushua ultimately has coming upon the earth, right? So, I'm going to get back into this video so we can finish listening to what it is this woman is saying. But, I just had to get those few precepts and bring them out, touching in on, ultimately the slavery and the downfall of these devils, man, because these people don't ever think that, they're going to have to pay for the things that they have done. They think that they're going to continue to flourish. They're going to continue to be proud and arrogant, and everybody's going to continue to have to obey them. These people really believe they rule the earth, man. That's the arrogancy of these people, man. The pride of these devils. But that pride, like I said before, in the near future, is all about to come to an end. So you got to continue to keep living it up because, hey, it's about to be over, man. As I read early in Job 20 and 5, the triumph of the wicked is short, man. And it's coming to an end. So we're going to get back into this video. And we're going to finish allowing her to speak, I should say.
Then why in the hell are you still standing on this free soil? Seriously, if you hate it here's that damn bad, nobody is stopping you. There is a whole wide world out there. Please feel free to go find where you think you fit in. I am so sick of the constant complaining from the people who enjoy every ounce of freedom this country offers, and in the same damn breath are trashing it. The only people that we need in our country are people who love this country, who respect this country, and who wants to see this country succeed. Not the ones who are trying to tear it down from the inside. Look, America isn't perfect, but she's worth standing for. The people in this country are worth standing for. So if you don't want to be a part of the solution, then kindly step aside and let us real, true, loving, patriotic Americans stand and respect our country.
You know, basically seeing what it is that she was saying, you know. And like I said, that all comes from a place of pride, you know, and arrogancy, white superiority, you know, and things of that nature that these people ultimately have and believe that they're worthy of, or that they believe they possess this superiority and this rulership, this power. And they do for a short period of time, like I said, but we see their power is slowly slipping out of their hands, man. That's why they're all complaining. That's why you look on the internet, the most people you see crying on these social media sites are so-called white people, you know, complaining about how life is getting more hard for them and things of that nature, you know. Because like I said, they're coming to an end of their rulership, their age, their eon is over, man. You know, and you devils are going to continue to suffer. You know, so I'm going to get this precept right here. You know, just touching more on pride, man, because these people are very prideful. This is Proverbs 11:2. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, right? And soon to come, these Edomites are about to be in pitiful case, man, you know. But with the lowly is wisdom, right? And let me go to another one. All right, this is Proverbs 29:23. It said, a man's pride shall bring him low. And that's what's ultimately going to happen to you Edomites. You people's pride and arrogancy, thinking highly of yourselves, you know, that's going to bring you very low. And ultimately it's going to be you being put in chains, man. Your captivity. That's how low you're going to get. And ultimately your eradication. You know, after you done served us for 1,000 years, you won't be no more to be remembered. That's ultimately going to be you people being low, you know. But it said, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit, right? And we know that's only talking about the Israelites, the elect of the nation of Israel, which are the humble in the sight of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. They're ultimately going to be, you know, their humbleness and their meekness is the reason why they're going to inherit the kingdom that is to come. You know, as it tells you in St. Matthew chapter 5, verse 5, how the meek shall inherit the earth, meaning the humble, you know, because it tells you that in this precept. This is James chapter 4, verse 6. But he giveth more grace, wherefore he saith, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble, man. You know? So, you know, the Lord is only going to have mercy upon his elect in these times. Even 2/3 of our people, you know, they're going to suffer in this place, America, too. But you Edomites, y'all are going to get it the worst in the kingdom of heaven that's to come, you know? And I might as well get that precept, you know. This is Obadiah chapter 1, verse 18, just touching on what's going to be the end of these so-called white people, man, you know. And it says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau, right, for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua has spoken it. All right. So I just read that, you know, that's basically what's going to be the end of you so-called white people, man. You know, eradication permanently after 1,000 years of hard labor, you know. So, you know, you people can continue to keep being proud while you're here in Babylon and you're winning as of now. But, you know, that's soon to come to an end, man, you know. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say with today's video. You know, like I said, Lord's will, it can be edifying. Like I said, this is more so of a rant video. You know, a spiritual rant, you know, but it's true, you know, that's what's coming for these devils, you know, chains, man, you know. So with that being said, you know, hopefully it be edifying, you know, to the next time I'm going to say shalom.